Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 17 of Empathic Action. I'm here with Edwin Rutsch, who is the founder of the Center for Building a Culture of Empathy. And we go way back, and we're both wearing our empathy shirts, I can see. Once upon a time when, you've been working on this for more than a decade, because I was still a grad school student when we met in California at a TEDx event that was focused on compassion. We ended up going to a lunch together at a pay it forward restaurant where you don't pay yourself, you just pay the meal forward for the person who's coming behind you. And we've stayed in touch ever since. And you have been doing some extraordinary work to build this culture of empathy that we so badly need. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. Yeah, I think I interviewed you after you did your PhD on empathy too. So I was the first maybe interview of you.
And that's when I think you had a dozen, maybe 30 or 40 videos on your website. I don't think there's a more exhaustive location of resources for understanding empathy than your website. So I invite anybody who's curious and wants to do a deep dive with, now it must be hundreds of empathy experts.
300, yeah.
300 empathy experts from around the world. So it's like a huge observatory, and it's all available free. So really, thank you for all the work that you've done and the commitment you've shown to this. I know recently you've been doing some really important work around empathy circles. Could you tell us a little bit about what's an empathy circle?
Well, from my experience with empathy, I've just found that this is like the empathy circle practice of doing mutual empathic listening in small groups is the most effective sort of first step for building empathy skills. And it's based on the work of Carl Rogers, who just in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s did really extensive work on empathic listening in a therapeutic and educational and other environments too. And he would just do empathic listening, which is listening to someone and periodically reflecting back your understanding or accompanying them on their journey. And so we just kind of built on that to make it mutual, not like a client therapist. But hey, it's just people, human beings, listening deeply to each other and connecting deeply and hearing each other deeply. So we have small groups, 3, 4, 5 people get together, and we do this empathic listening with each other. One person speaks, one person listens. You as a speaker, you speak, and the listener reflects back their understanding, and you just keep going back and forth like that for, maybe 5 or so minutes. You can set different times. And then once the speaker has been heard or the time is up, then it's the listener's turn to speak, and they select someone and they speak about, whatever is up for them or the topic. And then we go around for the time allotted. And usually I like about, 2 hours. You've taken part in these too, so you can probably speak from experience of what the experience is like. But you really get heard deeply, and you also get to listen to others deeply. So it's really a mutual peer-to-peer, our common, connecting with our common humanity. And I think it's the easiest, most efficient, effective first step for learning and deepening empathy. If you just do this over and over again, you sort of rewire your brain to become, a better listener, and you actually become a better speaker too, because you start becoming more sensitive to how you speak, because people are reflecting, what you're saying. You can say, hey, is this working or not working? What I'm trying to convey. So yeah, I'm really trying to spread this practice as widely as possible. And the goal is for every human being on the planet to be able to take part in an empathy circle and to facilitate one. So that's the overall goal.
So on that note, you do offer like the entire training program to become a facilitator and to participate in an empathy circle for free online. So we're going to make sure to include that information in this video. But since you opened up, the point that I have taken part in a couple of them over the years, even as somebody who cares a lot about empathy and is familiar with active listening, I found it an extraordinary experience because it is so difficult to sustain your listening, your true 100% attention on what somebody is saying, to be able to reflect it back over a sustained period of time. And so I think what you've shared with me and what I find super fascinating is that you develop a capacity to listen differently as a result of that, of honing that skill.
Yeah, exactly. And, you have to do it over and over again, as we were talking about before we started the recording, is by practicing that you sort of wire your brain to be a better listener. There's, pathways, your listening attention and presence pathways get wired just so it becomes more natural, more automatic, instead of the proverbial, listening to respond. You're just kind of wiring your brain to listen, to be sensitive and be aware of what the other person is saying.
And that's so important, given how polarized we are and how social media algorithms are really playing to our own set of belief systems already. Do you have a final kind of closing anecdote? I wish we could spend more time together, but maybe where you've actually seen an empathy circle play out between people who have really different perspectives and how it's changed the dynamic?
Well, our work was featured on Trumpphobia. If you go to Trumpphobia, what both sides fear, just Google that or look at, there's a video trailer on it, and it shows our empathy tent work, where we go to demonstrations between the political left and right. We brought both sides into the empathy tent. We did empathic listening with them at a impeach Trump rally. We had 6 pairs from the left and the right during the day that we recorded, and each of those pairs ended up with hugs at the end between the participants, and they agreed to do empathy circle follow-ups. And it's all videotaped, and in the documentary you can see the trailer, Trumpphobia. You'll see the trailer there.
I'll make sure to include that in this video, and I'll also take a look. You give us so much hope for what is possible. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, and we'll see you tomorrow.